welcome and thanks for joining us today. In today's episode, what I'm going to do is talk about, I'm going to answer a question I got, and thank you to everyone who's reached out and sent questions. A lot of them I've just sent back emails or we've gotten on the phone because they were maybe more complex than you could really get into on the podcast. But I got one the other day that I really thought I wanted to address because I thought it was a great question. And that question was, how do you connect with your customers? How do you engage your customers? In both in my career and in what I've seen. And before I get into the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s of that, I wanted to kind of go through a quick, I guess you'd call it a story. But if you're in your late 30s or older, there's a chance you may remember, especially if you were in the southern United States. Really, if you were anywhere, you probably remember your family vacation. It was probably a road trip. It was probably by car. If you had siblings, you were in the backseat fighting part of the way. But if you remember that, it was almost as if the trip, the journey, was more rewarding, or not more rewarding, but as rewarding in some cases as parts of the vacation were, because it was part of the vacation. The minute you left your house, vacation started. And whether it was roadside bingo or rest stops or welcome centers or the gas station, there were parts that you remembered and you kept with you. And one of those things for me and for many people my age was the stop at Stuckey's. Now, if you've never been to a Stuckey's, you may have a chance to go, and we'll get to that. But Stuckey's was this roadside stop. You could stop and get fuel. They had a lunch counter and breakfast counter in some. They had candies. They had local souvenirs relevant to that area. It was just a fun place to go, and it was a place that you would remember being, and it just added to that enjoyment of the journey was part of the vacation. In the late 1970s, probably early 80s, I believe, I'm not exactly sure, a big corporation bought Stuckey's, and they did what sadly happens in many cases, or a lot of cases. The company lost its connectivity, lost its value, and just became, they just sank into oblivion and mostly went away. There's a few here and there. Last year, at the end of 2019, Stephanie Stuckey, who, if I'm not mistaken, is the granddaughter of the founder of Stuckey's, decided to bring the brand back and reinvigorate it. So she led this charge in the buying stores and reopening stores and rebranding the company and bringing it back to what made it fun. And kind of one of her, I don't know if this is her mission statement or just one of her stated missions, was to bring back the American road trip. And so she is connecting with people again. So they're popping up again. So if you haven't been in one, you can go check it out. If you're not familiar with the brand, I've been following them on Facebook and LinkedIn and other social media channels, but it's STUCKEY''S. Just check them out and see what they're doing. Even if you're not a fan or nostalgia doesn't grab you, it's really intriguing to watch what she's doing. It appears she's doing a phenomenal job. The interesting thing is she started this in 2019 without any knowledge of what was going to happen in 2020. So here we are in 2020 and people are quarantined and staying home, and that should be pretty detrimental. But, we have still had to get out and travel. But more importantly, she's brought back, even prior to this happening, this understanding of bonding and stopping this world of hurry and get where you want to go and just to enjoy the whole process. So again, it's a great story and something I think really fits with talking about how you engage your customer and your consumer. So I'll go ahead and go into that part right now. I think one of the ways in order to really engage people is you have to be a good consumer. I've had friends who aren't good consumers, very utilitarian. Brand doesn't matter. They want the product. They use it for what it needs to be. They put it back up, and that's it. They're not emotionally attached to it. They're not emotionally attached to the process. And therefore, when they are involved in product-oriented businesses, in many cases, I've had to get involved with them and help them because they lack those soft skills. So if you really want to be good, you can be indifferent, but you need to start at least thinking like a consumer or being a good consumer. You don't have to go buy, but be a good consumer. Shop the market, look at the experience of shopping the market and figure out what it is. The next thing is you have to understand how your customer thinks, and those things may change with environment. If you try to build a 5-year strategy, it's really hard to dictate what the externalities, those external pressures are going to look like and what they're going to be doing to push on that decision process. So build that plan out, but constantly listen and monitor the marketplace for cues that may change the decision process of your customer. They may have more money in their pocket. They may have less money in their pocket. They may be more family oriented. They may be adventure seeking. And a lot of that can be driven by the macro of the market. So pay attention to that. The next thing is, in some cases, just ask them. We do have a lot of ways to hear from customers today. So just, be a good consumer, understand how consumers are thinking and what that external pressures and internal pressures may look like on that decision. The next thing is ask them if you need to. And then once you have all of that information, what you want to do is seek to please them with the product, with the process, engage them at all points. One place we've definitely gone awry as businesses, and this is usually what I uncover when we go in with our consulting firm is, when I ask a customer, explain where you are in your business right now, because obviously if they're bringing me in, more times than not, when we go in, it's because they're having problems, not because they're doing really well. So I say, tell me about where your challenges are. And it always starts with cash flows and profits, and we never even talk about why they exist, and that's their consumer. I'm not going to say don't worry about those things, but if you're a consumer-oriented product or service, focus on the consumer, focus on their process, focus on their journey, focus on their experience, and focus on building that loyalty, because if you focus on that entire process and you're aware of that process, you make the shopping piece fun, you make the unpackaging piece fun, you make the use exactly as they expected or better, and then you give them some takeaways and some leave behinds that make them think about your brand, then the profit will come on its own. So again, there's some great brands, and we're going to be doing some profiles of brands that have really done a good job of this, and not all of them are huge. One brand that I can think of right now that I've been familiar with and that I love is the YOLO brand. And if you go check out YOLO boards and bikes, YOLO paddle boards, and when that company was started, the founders of that company were very intentional about building their audience, understanding their consumer, and doing what they do. And it really shows in that product, because that brand has tremendous scalability and appeal to a very diverse range of people. Even people who don't participate in the activities are drawn in by the brand. And that's when you know you've done something really well. So again, you need to be a good consumer, go through that process. You need to view the market and the external pressures to help understand how the internal decision is made. In some cases, you just need to ask your customer, and you can ask them in so many ways. You can actually listen in on what they're telling your competitors and maybe take some cues from that. Put them first, not your profit, not your processes internally. That supports your customer. If everything you do supports your customer, then everything else will take care of itself. And then analyze that process and repeat, correcting as you go. And you will end up in a great place. So again, check out Stuckey's for a great American road trip and a success story that's coming back. Check out YOLO for a brand that truly understands its marketplace and really connects with its customer and does so in a way that is really uncommon in today's world. And then just enjoy the journey, enjoy the process, engage your customers, talk to them, celebrate with them, understand when they're feeling a little bit down, and what you can do, especially in today's world. The companies that have found out how to pick up spirits in today's market are doing really, really well. So again, thanks. That was a great question. something I really enjoyed answering and something I really enjoyed sharing today. So please send me some more questions. You can send them to us on Facebook, or you could DM us on Instagram. You can send them to us directly on the website at Can and Clay. But I look forward to hearing from you, and I look forward to more questions. And thanks again, and we'll see you next time.